Hello, welcome and welcome back to The Whole Bucket. I am Cheryl and this is Let's Make Journals. Today we are starting 100% junk version. And I said the only tools you need are glue and scissors, so I'm going to try to make this whole journal with only glue and scissors. Since today is the first day, I'm going to introduce you to the pile of stuff that I saved. If you watched last week's Let's Make Journals or the week before, I talked a little bit about things that you can save if you want to follow along with this series. If you did not see that and you want to follow along with this series, then take note of what's in this pile and then start thinking about your own world and what might be in it that you can add to your particular pile. So, 100% junk. That's my little sheet that says that's what I'm doing. So, I'll save that to the side. Here is something. I'm just going to introduce you to my entire pile. This is 4 sheets of baking parchment because my box got smashed down and in, and these pieces got very damaged. And I just yanked them out of the box and put them in my save for journal making. This is something you may recognize. Oh, there's my address. Oops. I'll have to try to blur that out, I guess. But whatever. So this is an envelope. Big squishy. That might end up being a journal cover. Cheese cracker box. We got some cardstock going on there. I'm going to throw that in the... There's something in my cracker box. Oh, the bag. The plastic bag is still in it because the plastic bags can be used too. Here is, this is a bag, I believe this was a particular kind of candy that was purchased by someone I know. I can't tell for sure though because it's got no crumbs and it has no smell. So it's just a Ziploc bag, a fancy Ziploc bag. Here is another item from that place that we all know. Well, that a lot of us know. Here is a box from Rug Grips that I'm going to save because it might end up being a piece of the cover. Here are some piles of packing material from various boxes that come to my house. I've just flattened them up and rolled them up. This I'm going to leave right now to the side because we're going to do something with this right away. This is a pile that I got from a friend of mine from when I worked in the school system. And she asked some teachers to throw some papers at the end of the year that are just leftovers into a pile, and look at all kinds of stuff in here. There is lots more where this came from. So I have a large supply of that. Anybody remember Scholastic Book Club? I do. I remember buying from them, and I remember passing these out when, you know, I was in the teaching realm. This is a notebook that was in the same, excuse me, no, sorry, talking to a cat. This is a notebook that was in the same pile as the other stuff from the school. And it's got some writing in it, but mostly this is just a source of lined paper. Just lots of lined paper. I saved some envelopes. I saved this envelope because it's got bumpy bubbles on it. I have some of these cards that are not credit cards, but little fake cards. Those are cardboard ones. Here's some cardstock strength or just heavy paper maybe, but somewhere between heavy paper and light cardstock. A big envelope with a giant window. Some of the inserts that go in there. More of that packing paper all piled up and rolled up. Another envelope. Cardstock. Also from junk mail. Stop. Or actually from Colgard. You need to check those things, you know. Wax paper from what came in this little oval tray. This little oval tray had green onion pancakes in it, and this wax paper separated green onion pancakes. Love those gosh darn things. They're just delicious. This is an envelope with a window in it. This is an envelope with a window in it. This is more, this is more junk mail. And I'm going to be a little more careful with it because I've discovered that I didn't watch out for addresses very well. I apparently got a little flippant about addresses. Okay, this looks like some generic junk mail that I'm not worried about. And I'm going to put this in the today pile. Here's some napkins. Napkins could be saved a couple of different ways. Either you like the pattern on them, like I like these flowers, or they're from a certain event or place. And then they don't have to be fancy at all. You just want to save them because they're attached to an event that was special. So, two different reasons and ways to save napkins. Here is a Chinese carry-out menu. This is my birthday card from a month and a half ago. And then the envelope it came in. Here are some bags. Here is a little white-handled bag. You can see that. I don't know why I said that part out loud. Here is just a plain old craft paper bag. There is a flat craft paper bag, and here is another one of those envelopes from that company that ships all kinds of stuff. The only place I know of you can give subscriptions to refrigerators, right? Isn't that the joke, I think? Okay. So, there is all the paper stuff. Well, almost all the paper stuff. Here, let's take a quick look. Those are the things I'm saving for today. I also got this. This is an old shirt that I'm using for this project. There is this. This is another packing material made out of some sort of... I don't think this is a woven fabric. I think it's a pressed fabric. And it is packing material for flat pack furniture. And this is like goes in between the layers. So I have a giant piece of that. I have some foam sheets. I don't remember what this came with because they're round. So I have no idea. Anyway, I have three sheets of round foam. I have some bubble wrap. This is one bit that I have, and I have a bunch more. I have, remember one of the things I said in the talk I had that talked about what to save was red onion skins. So this is the bag from my red onions, and it's got some skin bits still stuck in it. And then I think this is the last thing to show. This is another packing material. This comes in a lot of things, not as much as the other kinds I showed you, but this is just paper, but when you pull it out, it waffles. So this is a fun thing for paper and for textures. So we'll play with that at some other time. For right now, I have this pile of papers that I'm saving up here. I have two different pieces that I'm thinking about using for the cover of this journal. And I have the also ran stuff to show you. There are some onion skins that I have chopped way up. Here are onion skins in another bag that I have not squashed and mutilated yet. And there is some old coffee grounds, and here is a thing of drink mix. It's kind of like like Kool-Aid, right? I've never done anything with this. I do not recommend that you copy me, because this might be a really bad idea. But I'm going to find out today. And you're going to witness the test over the course of this book series. We'll see if this is an okay idea or a really bad idea. Alright. This box right here is a tool that I'm going to use for our very first part of this project. I want you to know that the only reason I'm using this tool is because I am doing this at my desk on camera. There is nothing about this that's necessary. You copy this procedure any way that works for you in your work environment, in your crafting environment. So the very first thing I'm going to do to prepare for making a 100% junk journal is coffee dyeing. So I also mentioned to you guys that you should save leftover coffee. This is actually instant coffee instead of leftover coffee, just because that's what I had in my basement right now. I could have gone upstairs for leftover coffee, I just didn't do that. So pour your leftover coffee or tea or whatever it is that you've got into a container. And I think I made mine too dark. How dark you do or don't want it is really a personal preference thing, and you don't know until you try. Every paper and every environment, like everybody's weather and paper and whatever, your coffee, the coffee you use, the strength of the coffee, the weather inside and outside, your drying process, all makes a difference. So the only way to learn what you want in your coffee dyeing is to try it. So find something to put your coffee or tea in, and then just start putting papers in. And the thing I think you should watch for when you put your papers in is how much space do you have to put this stuff to dry. So I actually have quite a bit of space to put papers out to dry. So I can get away with dyeing a whole bunch at once. So I'm just gonna fill this thing, but this gets messy. This gets messy. You want to submerge each piece that you put in here, right? You want to submerge them pretty well before you put the next one in, because if you put them in more than once, they won't dye evenly or properly, and or they will stick together so bad you'll never get them apart unless you rip them to shreds. So I'm going to pile one of those in there to start with. I'm going to pile in a few of these because I want to see if all of this stuff, like all of this ink and all of this writing, gets smudgy and fades away. That would be awesome, because I don't really want this writing on my papers. Whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Get back here, you. Oops. I'm going to go like this. I think that was somebody's personal paper at one point. I'm not sure. It might have just been a demo, but since I don't know, I'm going to cover it up. I thought I pulled all the personal stuff out, but it looks like maybe I didn't. A lot of this stuff was examples because it looked like it was from a staff training kind of thing. Alright, so I'm going to do those bits, and then I'm going to take stuff out of here and do a chunk of lined paper as well. because no matter what happens to this, it will be great for creating a journal. Get in the water. This one doesn't want to get in the water. So, I don't know how many of these I'm going to put in while you're watching. Oh, I know. I was talking about what if you can't, how much room you have for these to dry. So I happen to have a lot of room for these to dry. If you don't, dip a couple of them, however many you have room to dry, lay them out to dry on a cookie sheet or on a baker's rack with some paper towel or wax paper under it so you don't get coffee stains everywhere. Line your bathtub with them. If nobody's going to be hopping in the bathtub, let them dry. You can put them out on the sidewalk or a picnic table or whatever. If you watch them and the wind isn't going to blow them away, put a rock on top of each one so the wind doesn't blow them away. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you can do to let these dry. Some people dry them in the oven. I have never done that, and I have no interest in doing that, but definitely if you want to, look up a method. On YouTube, you can find tons, and follow what somebody else tells you to do as far as drying them in an oven, because maybe then you can, get more done faster. If you don't care about fast, then just dry a few at a time, then throw a few more in the coffee, and then dry those. Another thing that you'll hear if you look this up on the internet, on the YouTubes, on the whatever, right, is sometimes people will leave their papers soak for a really long time. I don't do that. I'm going to get these in here, and I'm going to take them across the room, because I will pause the video, right? I will take them across the room and I will lay them out, and they've only been in here a few minutes, and that's fine for me. I don't really like when my papers get too dark. There, I ripped that one. Don't worry if you rip them, right? Totally usable. Don't think, oh, I screwed that one up, I have to start over. If you ripped it like I did right here and that happens to yours, don't stress it. Not one bit. Before I take this away and go lay these out and move us on to the next thing, I am going to show you why we saved red onion skins. And then we're going to do a little test with this too. So, here, we can do this. I'm going to pull one piece out. I'm going to pull one piece out. Okay, so here is why my hands have to be perfectly dry. So I'm going to chat while I try to get every speck of coffee off my fingers. Here's why we saved red onion skins. Take your red onion skins. I've never done a big chunk of onion skin. So here, let's try that and see what happens. Just because we've never done it before. I've never done it before. I'm just going to go like this and see what happens. But there. I'm going to go like that. What I do though, stay. I wish it would go flatter. What I do though is I chop my onion skins up into little tiny bits. And I think you could probably do this pretty easy with the scissors. Me, I just usually play with them and rub them around in my hands until they're small. And then sprinkle it like confetti. I actually call this my confetti paper because I turn the red onion skins into confetti and nothing else. That is it. And as long as these aren't too... I've used this particular batch of onion skins a lot of times, so as long as they have any oomph at all in them anymore, you're going to see what red onion skins do to paper. It's actually super cool. Try this at home. I am also going to take just a piece of the dyed paper and sprinkle some of this drink mix on it. And then when I get all of these papers out, I'm going to put some drink mix in with the coffee and put some more papers in there. And when all of this gets done, probably in next week's video, actually. It doesn't take that long. It's like a couple hours thing. But this isn't going to be a product we use until next time. Get it? So this is in preparation for next time. But this is something you want to get going, because it is, get it going and then let it sit. But whatever the case is, next time we get together, we'll get to see the results of all of this. I'll be right back, and we will move on to the next step. Alright, my paper is now drying, along with the couple of experiments that I mentioned, and we're going to move on to making a journal cover. And depending on what you saved and what size journal you want to make, you have choices in the cover department. So if you wanted a great big journal, you could make a journal out of this box and make it this fat. So let's see how fat this actually is. This has got to be 2.5 inches? No, it's under 2. Okay. No. Measure the right way. It's actually 3 inches. Okay, that makes more sense. So you could have a 3-inch thick journal. If this is your first journal you're making, that might be a little extra demanding on yourself, and you might not want to do that. I'll show you something else though. If you want your pages to be nice and big like this, or your workspace to be big but your pages smaller, 2 completely legitimate options, right? You can, you know what? Let's just do it. I'll just show you what you can do. Let's move this silicone pad though, because it'll get wrecked in the process. You can do this with a scissors. I am going to do this with a scissors because I said you only need a scissors and glue. But I would, I don't trust myself to not get under the silicone pad and cut it. I would totally do a thing like that. The first thing you want to do if you want to make a giant box like this into your journal is cut the flaps off. You don't have to. There are other things you can do with your journal that includes leaving these on. I'm not going to show you how to do those just yet in this series anyway. In the future, I might show you other options. Right now, cut these puppies off, following that fold line as much as you can, because you want your bottoms and tops and stuff to be as straight as they can be. Alright, we got our flaps off. Now, we need to open this up, and it has a natural seam right here, and I'm going to open it up using that natural seam. So I'm going to get it started, and then it's wanting to tear into the side, right? I don't care that much, because I think this is going to get cut off anyway, but I'm trying to control it a bit. I'm going to tear off the scragglies a bit. This also doesn't matter just yet. If you want to leave the scragglies, you go ahead and leave them. If you don't like the look of the scragglies, get rid of them, because you know, you don't want to be distracted from the art by scragglies. If your hands won't let you grab the scragglies, find a tweezer. I'm having a bit of trouble grabbing onto the scragglies. Okay, we'll just leave that. So now we have the box, and it's got a little extra flap here. I'm going to leave that on for now. This might end up being sacrificed later. It's got this flap right here that might stay on, and it might get sacrificed later. And it's got this, and then it's got the two big ones and the other bit. This is going to be the spine of the journal. If I was making my journal out of this, okay, if you're making your journal and you want it nice and big like this, but you don't want it big and fat like this, because this is the demanding part right here, do what you have to do to figure out the middle of this and mark it, make a line, and cut. So I'm going to make a line in the center, and we already established that if I measure correctly, this is 3 inches. So 1.5 is center, and 1.5 is center. And how about down here? 1.5 is center, and then three dots ought to be enough. We'll get something close to a nice center line, and I'm going to one side of those dots to make a line. And then I am going to cut on one side of that line. I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. Alright, so in order to join the dots, I put my ruler to the left side of the dots, and I could just see the dots on the left side of the ruler. Now to cut this line, I am going to cut not on the line directly, but at the very left edge of it. I'll tell you why in just a sec. And actually, since I'm cutting to the left side, I need to turn it around this way. I need to be able to see where I'm going, but I am just to the inside of that line. I went off my line. Boo hiss, boo hiss. Okay. Perfection is not required. So the reason I did that is because now ever so slightly, one side is bigger than the other. And when you're joining things in a journal together or any kind of book, what you want is things to be on the edge of the lines and the folds. Otherwise, they won't open and close properly. So here's what we've done. We've cut this spine section in half. So instead of a 3-inch spine, we now have a 1.5-inch spine. And I would even recommend that 1 inch is better. So you could further cut this so that there's a 1-inch line here and a 1-inch line here and join it that way. The reason being is because the more book you have to fill, the more book you have to fill. Okay, the more stuff you're going to need. And even the small books can take a ton of stuff to fill up. So try not to start too big. Sometimes, I don't know about you guys, sometimes my ambitions can get ahead of my ability. So I need to dial back my ideas and my wishes and my inspirations and, you know, save some room for growth. Okay, so if you wanted to do a really big book, you certainly could, and still cut the spine down to size to make it more manageable when it comes to the filling up your journal part. I am going to do my journal this size, and it's the exact same process. I'm going to cut this tape. That's what I'm going to do first. And I'm going to open this box up and cut all the tabs off the exact same way. the paper is splitting really badly on this one. And look, I just made a tear in my cover, so that's not great. It's not, none of this is game changer though. Don't think if things don't work the right way that there's a game changer, because in junk journaling anyway, there is almost nothing you can't overcome. I mean, after all, we are creating journals and art out of junk. That's why they're called junk journals. So don't worry that your junk gets junkier. It's perfectly fine. Alright, so quickly, let's cut the tabs off this puppy, because then I have some choices to make. And the only way I'm going to know what I want to do for sure is by trying this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all of the tabs and stuff off. Blarg. The same way I showed you with the great big one. So you can follow the same processes regardless of what size box you're using. If you're even using a box, I'll show you how you don't even have to use a box in just a minute here. As soon as I get this last little bit off of here. Okay, here we go. So, there is my journal cover. I did a terrible job cutting. This is all raggedy. This is all lopsided. This is very raggedy. I might clean these things up at some point, but right now I don't care and it's not necessary. This is really tall though. I don't think it needs, how tall is this? 10 inches. I don't need a journal this tall. At all. I might change that. I might not. We'll see. But here are the choices I want to go through, and here is how you don't even need the cardboard bit. So if you have one of these padded mailers, this by itself makes a good journal cover. All you would have to do in this case is measure. Think about how wide you want your book to be. Think of how wide you want your spine to be. And go front cover, spine, back cover. How many inches would that be?
I don't know that one.
And then say you wanted, look at this one, it kind of already has a really skinny spine. Look at that. Has a really skinny spine. So what if I just wanted a really skinny spine like that? That's like, what, half an inch? Half? No, almost 3/4. A little over half. That's like 4 5/8. 5/8 of an inch. Say you wanted that. That's fine. And then say you wanted a 5x7 journal. Then measure 5 inches this way, 7 inches. It'll be 5 inches back. Do the same on the other side of the spine. Whatever. Cut the whole thing out. You now have a very tactile kind of squishy cover. So I have the idea that I want to take this and put this cardstock inside this squishy envelope and make my book this size and cover it with this envelope. The reason being is then I get a it's basically a soft cover journal, right? But then it has some structure to it, right? So I kind of like that idea. Don't need this, don't need this. Could do just this, could do just this. I'm thinking about doing them together. You decide your own options, right? Here's another thing I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of taking this puppy and covering it with these thingies, because this foam is super thin, but it has just a tiny bit of swoosh to it. So what if I took it and covered my journal cover with it? Probably actually inside and out. Ooh, I could even make my journal kind of rounded. I've never done that before. Ooh. Ooh, a new thing. Okay. Anyways, anywho, what if I did that? And what if I did it on the inside as well? Right? So I do this on the inside of my journal as well. Then both sides are just a little bit squishy. This is not the end though, right? Stay tuned. We're not done building this cover thing. So now I've got a little bit of structure on the inside of a couple pieces of squishy foam. I'm imagining that this foam will help this journal last forever and ever and ever and ever, although we are not creating what would be an archival journal because of some of the materials we're going to be using. This is a personal use journal. It will probably last a great many years. As far as being archival goes, that's not an aim I'm going for right now. So if you want archival, that's a different level thing. It's something that I will get into, but not this journal. Okay, so there's the option I'm currently leaning toward. But if you only have a paper bag like this is a journal right here. This is a journal. I know you don't think it's a journal. It looks a lot like a paper bag. But first of all, if you cut this all the way open, you can fold it and make it into a journal any size that is allowed by this piece of paper. All this is a piece of paper. If you want a journal that is about like this, and that is a lovely sized journal right there. If I assume a 1-inch spine, here, watch. So I just folded this down the middle. Now it has a no-inch spine. That's not quite what we want. If I want a 1-inch spine, I'm going to go about a 1/2 inch from that center fold in, fold it, and then about a 1/2 inch the other direction as well. And fold it. Let's see if I ended up with a 1-inch spine. Let's see how close my guessing is. There's the front fold, there's the spine fold, there is my second fold, and there's the 1-inch mark. I'm about an 1/8 inch off. That's pretty darn good for me because I am not a good estimator of that stuff. So for me, a 1/8 inch off is pretty darn stellar. So now I've got this. I just folded my book wrong. Hold on, I'm going to make those folds again. There we go. Now I've got a 1-inch spine right there. I've got a front cover. I've got the back cover. I'm not doing very good at holding this bag in position so I can show what I'm doing. And if you can see properly, these don't meet up very well. This is a problem that you do not have to worry about. Don't worry about accuracy or perfection or anything like that. We're going to get to that later, and if the back of your journal is longer than the front of your journal or vice versa, we'll get to it. We'll fix it. But what you do have is the opportunity for some cool pockets already. You got some cool pocket making stuff back here. You got some cool flappy pocket stuff going on right here. And you have what is a pretty hefty journal cover because craft paper for at least this bag is pretty heavy, and now it's at least 2 layers thick, but in some places more like 4 or even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. I know how to count. Okay, anyway, nice strong journal right there. If this is all you have, if you didn't save a box and you didn't save a heavy bag and all you saved was a light bag just like this, and this is the biggest thing you have and you don't know what else you could make a cover out of, could you make a journal cover out of just a lightweight, what is probably like greeting card bag weight, right? Could you make a journal out of just this? Absolutely, you could make a journal out of just folding this in half, and this is it. If this is all you have and all you've been able to save, don't think you can't make a junk journal. We'll make one out of that too. In fact, I'm thinking I might do more than one example of this 100% junk journal. So super, super beginner series. If you are a beginner and can't figure out what to do with all these things you've been saving, then maybe we're going to learn what we can do. A lot of people are doing junk journals and junk journal covers and such with bags, and they leave these attached, or they unattach them and then reattach them at the end of the creation process, or closer to the end. So you actually end up with a journal with handles, and it's adorable and it's fun. So you can use these bags, and you can use them very similar to the craft bag that I showed you. Like this, for instance. If I pull this so the front and back of this, if it were a journal, was even, it's ending up with a spine about that width right there. So the second fold is about right here. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. The second fold would be there. The first fold is where the bottom and the gussets are. And we end up with a little journal that is 3 3/4 by 5 and almost 5.5. And how wide is the spine then? The spine would be, I can't hold it still, 7/8. It looks like about 7/8. And then your journal has a little handle. It's just so cute. So stinking cute. Okay, that's enough of the journal cover debate. I do believe I am going to make a rounded edge journal because I have this thing and it's made me think that I kind of want a rounded edge journal, even though I've never, ever, ever, ever made one before. Maybe that's the best reason to give it a try. And I'm going to try to get this centered, but I suppose it doesn't really matter all that much. I'm just kind of looking where I think the middle of the circle is. And I'm trying to get it kind of straight. But yeah, in the end, it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so it's gluing time. If you're not going to be doing this foam part with me, don't stress this part at all, right? But the next part might be relevant to you. So either watch this knowing that it is information for your future crafting, or skip ahead. You can skip ahead to the next section of the next section of cover making, because I think it will apply to a lot more people. What has happened to my glue? I'm not sure what's happened to my glue. How stuck could it be? Pretty darn, apparently. Alright, hang on. I'm going to pause the video and fix my glue. Be right back. Okay, that didn't take long. So, this is nothing fancy glue. It's Aleene's Tacky Clear Gel. I don't even know if it's going to hold these things together. So here's a little glue lesson. If it's plastic and if it's shiny, it's going to be a pain in the rump roast. I have 3 bits of that going on right here. The box that I am making this out of is not exactly shiny, but it is a smooth textured cardstock. It's definitely a matte finish, but it's a smooth plastic matte of some sort. So I've got the what I call shiny, but it's smooth plastic texture. So it's shiny and it's plasticky, and the foam is definitely plastic. Itchy nose. Itchy nose with a handful of glue. I'm going to glue my nose. Okay. So whether this sticks or not in the long term is seriously iffy. There's a reason I don't care. And the reason I don't care is the next step we're going to do in cover making. All I need it to do is hang on for a little while. I just need it to hang in there, baby. I suppose I don't need to do these outer corners because they're not going to get covered with the foam anyway. All right, there we go. I also think I am not doing the foam on the inside of the journal because I think I want a writing surface on the inside cover. I don't know if that'll end up being true, but I know if I put foam on the inside, it will make it a little tricky to be having a writing surface out over there. So I'm not going to put that on the inside. All right, let's see what happens when we lay this out. There we go. I'm going to set that right there and let it dry for a second while I get some of this glue off my desk. If I just dry it enough, it should come off. There we go. There we go. That took longer than I thought it would, but yeah. That's what I like about this particular glue. It's easy to clean up. It just rolls right off when it dries. There we go. All right. So the next thing I guess I have to do is cut my cover out. Whoops, I cut into the cardstock. I didn't want to do that, and now I just did it some more. Oy, oy, oy. I'm going to have to do something to cut the top and bottom of my journal straight. Again, not stressing about it right now, and you'll see why in just a couple of more minutes. There doesn't seem to be any glue here. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to cut these rounded edges. If I got this at all centered, it's gonna be close enough. I'm not sure how wide the front and back cover are ending up being, and if they will be close to even or not. But they don't have to be perfect. You know, I just thought of something. There is a flaw in my plan. So I wanted a writing space on the inside cover, or at least the opportunity for a writing space. But here's my next plan. So I said you should save some sort of fabric. Here is my fabric. An old shirt. And I was going to cover this whole cover inside and out with this fabric. But if I do that, I have negated the writing surface on the inside. So I have to have a little bit of a ponder. Looks like I have to have a ponder for more than one reason, because it's got this pleat in the middle. If I put the pleat on the spine, maybe I don't mind. But if I cover the outside of the journal with this, I don't mind folding it. Yeah, that's what I'll do. But I don't have square edges. Now, you know what? I'm just rambling and not teaching you anything, and you have no idea what I'm rambling about, do you? I'm sorry. Terribly sorry for this incoherent rambling. So I'm trying to figure out a problem. I can just take this fabric and wrap it around the journal. If I had a square journal, instead of this weird shape I've created, I could just glue the edges and miter the corners, and I'd have a covered journal with an interior writing space. Because I've made it this weird shape, I can't really do that now that I think of it. And I am lopsided in my circle, so my top is thinner than my bottom. I don't mind that part. So this top is thinner, narrower than the bottom. I don't mind that part. But it does mean, it means I need to really think about what I'm doing. That's what it means. So if I assume that's the top and this is the bottom, then I can take this pleated section looks like it doesn't look like it's all that much different from top to bottom, but I will put that at the bottom. It does look wider, a little bit wider. So if I put the pleat so that it's skinny at the top of the spine and wider at the bottom, I honestly don't think any of that matters too terribly much, but it's how I'm going to make decisions. So use whatever parameters you want to make decisions. I am deciding that this was not the way to go if I'm going to be introducing a way to make beginner journals, but here I am doing a weird thing. So I feel like I've made a big mistake in my video here. I allowed myself too much creativity wiggle room. And what I said just a second ago is completely valid. That I am not now creating a beginner journal because I have delved into something I myself am unfamiliar with, which means it's more of a craft with me than a tutorial at this point, right? I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that by definitely doing 2 journals at once and doing 2 journals right now. So I am going to quickly mark this and cut it out. I'm just using a pencil. Obviously this isn't going to be marked very accurately and not completely. Pencil on fabric is not the greatest marking tool, and I don't care about that because I'm going to be going about an inch outside of whatever line I'm making right now. Okay, so I'm going to stay about an inch away. I can see the line. Oh, I'm off screen. I can see the line about right here, so about an inch away from that. And I'll come back on screen in just a second here. Nothing special. So I actually think there's some value in this little faux pas, because I think that this is a good demonstration that you don't have to make any decisions. Learning along the way is completely all right. So we will count this rounded journal as demonstrating the learning curve and how you can just make stuff up on the fly, and how you accommodate trials and all that sort of thing. And ways that you can solve problems in junk journal making. And I'll grab one of the other journal methods and we'll make a nice regular shaped journal to show how you can do that and what you're aiming for, because that makes a lot more sense. I don't know what I'm going to do for the inside of that one, but let's see. I don't remember this shirt being so stained. Oh, it's in bad shape. How about if we take the simplest one? The simplest one is this paper bag. If this is all you have and you saved a shirt or a pillowcase, I did say that t-shirts and pillowcases would work fabulous for this particular project. I couldn't find a t-shirt in my pile, so we're using this thing instead. And I kind of don't want all the, well, the stains don't matter, I guess. I don't have a piece of this big enough to do this. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to pretend that this packing material is a t-shirt. If you don't have a t-shirt, if you didn't save any fabric, here's your save. Same thing though here, right? I'm going to save, I'm going to go in, oh, goodness sakes, I'm going to do about an inch border all the way around this and not worry too terrible much about straight lines or perfection or anything like that. There we go. That's it. That's all you do for this kind. So, whether you have a plastic bag or I mean a paper bag or an envelope or a packing bag envelope or anything, or even just a little bag like this, one of the things you're going to want to do if you're going to cover it with fabric is miter the corners. And you're going to go in at an angle almost to that point, but not exactly to it, or you'll end up with naked corners, and boy, they're just terrible. Okay, they're not the end of the world. Here's how you fix a naked corner. Take the little piece that you just cut off, put a speck of glue right there, and glue down the bit you just took off. And get it flush to that, or get it right up to that corner and flush with the edges. And do the same thing all the way around your piece of fabric. You know what? I'm gonna make it even easier. Let's say you're using a glue stick. Not this giant one, but any old glue stick. Get your paper, whoops. Get your paper glued down with whatever glue you chose for this project. to your fabric that you've just cut out in your rectangle, about 1 inch in all directions bigger than your book cover. So get your piece of fabric cut, get your journal cover glued. Get it all glued down. There you go. Now we don't have to worry so much about shifting, right? Then cut out your corners. So again, I'm going to cut right up to this corner, but not at the corner, like just in front of it, a speck. Oh, I can't get my scissors to behave. Okay, and then out from the corner, take a speck of glue and get this in place in the corner, all the way to the corner. Sit there, will ya? Jeez Louise, man. This is very rounded. I guess I'm just gonna fold this over so it gives us a nice straight line instead. Because that was the whole point of doing this second cover, is to show just nice straight lines. Don't be so ridiculous like I was. Don't make a round journal when you don't even know what you're doing with a round journal. At least not for a tutorial video. I got carried away with myself, didn't I? That's okay. Now we're doing 2 journals. Okay. Whoops, I just threw these away. Silly, silly girl. So, let me put this one in place. And I'll get this one in place. Where'd it go? There you are. Why are you so... That one's very not cornery. Let's try to make it actually corner. I cut terribly there. There we go. Now, I think it's kind of obvious what we're going to do, right? We're going to fold these parts in and glue them down. Again, if all you have is your glue stick, because that's what you chose for your glue, it's perfectly fine. I like doing top and bottom first and the back and front last. You do these in any order you want, or do them all the way around. Do whatever you like. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to do top or bottom, whatever this turns out to be. I'm going to do top or bottom over here. Should wait for your glue to dry so your parts don't slide around. There we go. Parts are sliding around. I'm going to tear that off and resettle it. That's terrible. What a mess. What a mess I've made of things. Okay. I'm going to glue this up. Here is where the little corners that I had you glue down and that I just repaired comes in handy. If you made these miter cuts too close to that corner, you'll end up with a corner that's not covered. And I can see right here, I actually did just that. Not because I actually cut too close, but because if you can see this as it's popping up, I actually tore my paper or my fabric a little. And that could make the corner of the paper bag exposed, which isn't necessarily the end of the world, right? But it's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm trying to cover it. go? There we go. Not sure why my glue stick just got stuck, but I glued my glue stick to my journal cover. How ridiculous. That is not what we're trying to do here. So you might be saying to yourself, why do I have a paper bag if I'm just covering the whole paper bag? One of the reasons for doing things in all of the layers that we're going to end up doing them is to offer strength to things that aren't particularly strong. So that paper bag that I'm using for this journal cover is really lightweight. And you want your journal cover to be at least somewhat strong. So I have the paper bag on the very inside. Now I have a layer of fabric on the outside. There will be another layer of paper on the inside, or fabric, I'm not sure which. There will be another layer of art of some sort on the outside, because we will create a journal cover art piece, right? So this will be covered. It's likely to have a back piece to it, and we want that covered anyway. Well, I do anyway. Maybe you don't. Maybe you like that showing through. But that's going to get covered. So this will have multiple layers on it. Right now it's just this flimsy thing. We don't want that flimsy. At least not this flimsy. But there we have one journal cover. So this will be the smallest easy journal we can make. And then we got this puppy where I have gotten ridiculous. It was so not my intent. And I am going to, you know what? I don't know how I want to do this. I'm going to take my glue stick and just glue stick all over this thing. This is not because I think this glue stick is going to hold this. I don't think it is. This is not a power glue by any means. So I think this is really just going to fall right off. But hopefully it's going to hold it in place while I work. There are other steps that I will go to make sure that everything stays where I want it to. But right now what I want to do is get glue on this whole thing and get this piece of fabric in place. And I think it goes this way. Oh no, I can't really tell. No, it must go this way. I think it goes this way. And I want the center of the spine to be kind of the center of the pleat, at least as much as I can. And just kind of smooth it out into place, and hopefully this glue will grab and it will hang on. Whoops, that's not what I want. I want this kind of straightened out. So I've got quite a problem up here. I have cut this wrong, or I guess I told you not that there's nothing really wrong, but I have cut this really close to the cardstock up here on the top. Or I have placed this wrong, or I placed it differently when I cut it. I don't know what I don't know what the deal is, but this is off kilter enough that I'm not going to have enough over here. So I'm going to do some shifting. Let's do some shifting, shall we? There, I think that's a little better. I think that's better. There we go. All right, that is enough video for today. As you can see, we can see packaging through this fabric. That's not where we want to end up. That's not where I want to end up. We have paper bag info showing through here. That's not what I want. If you have some of that going on, I'll show you how to get rid of it in the next video. I'll also show you what to do with those papers that we have drying after we dunked them in tea and stuff. Tea or coffee and stuff. I'll also figure out in the meantime how I'm going to turn this into a journal edge. And I'm probably going to do that off camera and come back and tell you what I ended up doing and how I ended up doing it, because I'm not sure at all how I'm gonna fix this issue. So there we are. Two different covers going on for Let's Make Journals. So like, subscribe, and stay tuned for further Let's Make Journals. Thank you very much.